I really need a haircut. I'm starting to look like a frat guy took fashion advice from Julius Caesar. Hey everybody, your friendly GM Bobby here with another episode of Ask Bobby. I'm back after a little bit longer break than normal. Last week was my anniversary weekend, so if I wanted to make sure that I stayed in the good graces of the one who allows me to stay at home and do this stuff, then I had to cut the cord. I had to go dark for the weekend. But I have some news that has come along since the last time I spoke to you guys about my actual play podcast that I want to get going. Some of you may have heard me talk about this, some of you might not have, so let me give you a quick explanation. I am trying to get a Shadowrun actual play launched on Complex Action. It's going to be a podcast and on YouTube at the same time, so lots of people can see it. It's going to take place in a location that has never been explored before in the sixth world of Shadowrun, in Columbia, South Carolina, where I am from. And I'm really excited about this. It's going to be in the Deep South, have lots of themes of kind of the South. And I've got some really exciting cast members already lined up. First one is Damien from the Violent Life podcast, and also Mr. Johnson of the Arcology podcast. Both of them are going to be players in my actual play. I've got some other people that I'm still tying the knot on, trying to see if I can make sure that I get them on, and I'm really excited about the whole cast. One of the really cool, unique things about this Shadowrun actual play is the world building that's going on. I'm not just building it from the ground up. I am also getting the community to assist me in building it and getting you guys to put elements into the world that the players will get to interact with, and you, when you listen to it, will get to see the players interact with the parts that you've made. The way that works is you have to become a patron at least the $2 level over on patreon.com/complexaction, and you get to make NPCs. If you're at the $5 level, you can do things like create organizations and locations, bigger elements of the world to put in there. And as long as you are subscribed at one of those levels, by the time the actual play launches, then you will get to have those things put in the game. Now, we are really close to meeting our goal of $250 per month. We're really close. As of the last time I checked, right before recording here, we only had $21 to go. I just started this drive and push to hit the actual play milestone earlier this month. So what would be super awesome is if before the end of the month we could hit that goal before May is over with. So get on over there, check it out, see if you like what you see, and consider becoming a patron. At any level, any amount helps us reach that goal. So patreon.com/complexaction, and we're going to launch an actual play. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about it. In the time before the actual play launches, I've actually went ahead and launched the podcast feed where the actual play is going to live, and on there I am putting some really cool world building stuff for you guys to listen to get you kind of interested in and excited about the world that we're building. Kind of become immersed into the world and get excited about the world that we're creating. The podcast is just called Complex Action, and just search for that and get it on iTunes or anywhere that you get podcasts. Subscribe to the podcast and you'll get every bit of story that I put out periodically every couple days or every week or something before the podcast launches, before the actual play launches. You'll get those little bits of story. Just get on over there, start learning about the world now, and get excited. One other thing before I answer some questions, I wanted to plug a YouTube channel from someone in the Shadowrun community. His name is Bamps. He's active on the Reddit, the Shadowrun subreddit, also on Runner Hub on Reddit. He does some great things over there in his Twitch streams and his YouTube channel where he helps GMs do their job. He runs these games that he calls Games for GMs, which is GMs getting together and playing a Shadowrun game together where they kind of periodically throughout the game take a break and talk about what's going on and answer questions from people watching the stream. Tonight, as of the time I'm recording this right now, he's actually hosting one and doing a fireside chat afterwards, a GM fireside chat that he's asked me to be in. And also some people like, I think, Opti and some other people that you might have heard about before. Now, obviously, by the time you see this, it will have already happened. but he has told me that it's going to be on YouTube for you to watch after the fact. So I'll try to put some links down in the notes down there below. You'll be able to see what we talked about. On to the questions. First question comes from Patreon patron Handsome Bald Man. He asks a multi-part question about how to summon spirits in relation to mana barriers. It goes like this. Hey Bobby, I have a series of questions about mana barriers and summoning/calling spirits. Picture a summoner inside a mana barrier. Can they summon or call up a bound spirit? Does it matter if it's in their mana barrier or someone else's mana barrier? Does it matter that the mana barrier is a lodge or if it's someone else's lodge? Does it matter if they're summoning a new spirit or an existing spirit? And does it matter if the mana barrier is non-continuous, i.e. has an opening? All right, now I'm going to answer all these questions pretty quickly, but I'm going to give a special caveat at the end, which all these answers are contingent on. So save your comments for how I got this wrong until after you finish hearing my answer. First of all the answers I'm about to give you can be found in the Street Grimoire source book on page 191 in a section called Astral Movement. Now, all the answers to this question are kind of contingent on one special piece of information. Spirits don't just have to travel through the astral plane or the physical plane like our plane of existence. They can actually pop out of our plane into the meta planes and then pop back into our planes from the meta planes somewhere else. So they can actually go from one side of an astral barrier to another by going into the meta planes and onto the other side. Let's use that piece of information to quickly answer all these questions. So if you're inside a mana barrier, can you summon or call up a spirit? Yes. If they'll just come from the meta planes and pop right into your side of the mana barrier. It's not a problem. Does it matter if it's yours or somebody else's mana barrier? No, it doesn't matter. Does it matter that the mana barrier is a lodge or not? No, it doesn't matter. Again, a lodge just behaves like a mana barrier in this situation, at least. Does it matter if you're summoning a new spirit or calling an existing bound spirit? Nope, it doesn't matter. And does it matter if the mana barrier is non-continuous, i.e. doesn't have an opening? Or has an opening? No, in fact, if it has an opening, it makes it even easier because they don't have to pop in and out of the meta planes. They can just go around it. But if it is continuous, again, they can just use these meta planes as kind of like a way to teleport around it. Now, again, I said that there would be some caveats to these answers I'm giving you. So the caveat is that a spirit can only use the meta planes to bypass a mana barrier in two conditions. First, so if they're already familiar with that area, then they can just in the meta planes and back out on the other side. If they're not familiar with it, but the summoner of the spirit is on the other side of the mana barrier, then they can still use the meta planes to go across the mana barrier. I guess by going into the meta planes, they use their summoner as kind of like a psychic astral conduit that helps them find the location that they can pop back into. The next question we've got is from Patreon patron Methisius. He asks, have you considered ever joining the Catalyst demo team? Yes, I have considered it. I am not a Catalyst demo team agent. So obviously, while I've considered it, I haven't done it. But the reason is very specific. It's because I don't have a lot of time to run games. They have you go to your local game stores or conventions or something like that and run and help run Shadowrun games. And I just do not have the time for that right now. Final question comes from YouTube user, and I'm going to butcher your name, I'm sorry, Tamer Bayuk. He asks, you draw spirits sad almost all the time. He's referring to my GM screen series on spirits. Yes, I draw them sad a lot. He asks, is summoning and binding them bad or evil? And from a new GM's perspective, what does that translate to roleplay-wise? So you noticed I draw them sad all the time. Well, to answer your question, summoning and binding spirits isn't by themselves always bad. I kind of in my head think about binding spirits in particular, to be kind of like subjugating a spirit into your service. Now, certainly rules-wise and crunch-wise, binding a spirit is not automatically a bad thing. There are rules in the Street Grimoire regarding getting a bad reputation in the spirit world. So there are things that you can do to and with a spirit that do not ingratiate you to spirits, and they will not like it. Go ahead and check out Astral Reputation, I think it is, or Spirit Reputation. It's towards the end of the Street Grimoire source book. Some things that do cause spirits to look badly towards you are disrupting a spirit, banishing and then reconjuring the same spirit, rebinding a spirit over and over again, long-term binding of a spirit, and using a spirit to resist a drain or using a spirit to bind spells. Those are all things. There are other things, but those are all things that get you a negative reputation in the spirit world. So I kind of view them as like spirits don't like doing this. You know, they're being used, they're being taken advantage of. But basic summoning, getting a spirit to perform a service, even just basic binding, as long as it's not like super long-term binding, those aren't a problem. Just basic normal use of a spirit. It's when you start getting into the abusive uses of spirits. So thanks for your questions, guys. I always have fun answering them. I'm sorry I missed you last week. Maybe I will next week do another Ask Bobby video with no weeks in between. Remember, I said we're trying to get this actual play launched. Head over to patreon.com/complexaction. Consider becoming a patron. Let's close that gap. Let's get to $250 per month so we can get this thing going. And until next time, bye-bye.